Hey there, welcome back to Best Green Homestead. In today's video, we're going to show you how a 1-year-old can fix your furnace. Or she can try. Look at that, you already know how to use the screwdriver watching Daddy open it up. Okay, so first things first, you'll take your Phillips screwdriver that my daughter has here, and you'll take off the front access panel to get at your furnace. So if you're having an issue and your furnace isn't working, we're going to show you how to look at some common problems that might be the cause of your furnace not working. Some of these things anybody can do, very, very simple things, even replacing some of the parts. Some of the more in-depth parts, you'll want a little bit of skills, some hands-on skills working on things. Electrical skills mostly, mechanic skills a little bit. First thing is your filter, your furnace filter. That is your most common problem that arises with furnaces. If your furnace filter gets clogged, I just changed mine. Mine was pretty dirty though. We're doing some renovations, so I probably should have changed it earlier than I did. And that could have been my problem. We had a limit switch open fault. So that could be caused by airflow issues. It may have been also just because it was extreme cold and minus 30 or almost minus 40 record cold. And I'm thinking that maybe that was my issue. So first thing, check your furnace filter. Mine here has it's located on the side where your ductwork goes into the furnace. So the cold air return comes in here, gets filtered by the filter, goes in to the blower motor at the bottom, which we can open that up and show you, and then it goes up and through your ductwork for the hot air going throughout your house. So mine has a little foam cap there, I guess, and then I'm almost hesitant to do it because I almost have to break it to take it out. It's tight in there for mine, but and then your filter will say this side faces furnace. So you want to make sure that's facing the furnace. And usually another way you could tell is the metal support kind of thing is on the furnace side, and that keeps it from sucking it into the furnace. So that can be an issue actually where it actually gets so dirty, it's sucking so hard to get air that it pulls that in towards the furnace. And it can even touch your blower motor and cause issues or whatever that way. More so just that it's working so hard. So check that, change that. Whether you think you need it or not, just change it if you have an issue with your furnace. First thing. Then before you get into anything with your furnace, find your furnace switch and shut it off before you do any electrical work. And one of your main issues with your furnace could be your thermostat itself. So you want to make sure that your temperature is set higher. We have it low because we have a pellet stove, so we try not to have it come on, but just set it even really high to make sure that when you flick the switch back on to test the furnace, that it calls for heat. You hear that click there? That click is sending the signal through the thermostat wire to the furnace, and it's a call for heat is what they call it. So you want to make sure, this is one for a pellet stove we don't use, but make sure that it's calling for heat. Now that you got your furnace turned up high, your switch is off, so the furnace isn't going to run. Now you can see here are your furnace wires. I believe we have one to one thermostat, one to another, because some of the wires are coming to the furnace to turn the blower motor on of the furnace from the pellet stove. So I believe they rigged it up so that when the pellet stove gets going, it can turn just the blower motor on. But anyways, you normally will just have one thermostat wire coming to the furnace, and if you believe that could be your issue, if you don't hear it kicking on the furnace, then it's probably not calling for heat, and you might have an issue with your thermostat wire. So you can check to make sure that these are connected and tightened properly. And then one of your other possible causes could be this 3 amp fuse right here. So with your power off there, you can check, you'll see that will be burnt and blown. That's not our issue. Now, I'm going over issues that we don't have, but it could be the problem. Now, another common issue that could happen is this right here. This is a maintenance thing you can do. Unclip that, unscrew this. This is your flame sensor. So it will sense that the flame is lit, and then if the flame goes out, it will sense it and it will turn off the gas and turn off your furnace to make sure that you don't have a buildup of gas inside your house, to be dangerous, of course. So that you can take off, and you can clean that with some emery cloth. I've done that before. I probably should do it again. It's a good thing to do yearly. So that's another common problem that could be. And if that's your problem, Ember wants to come help out. Yeah, you seen Daddy fix the furnace? You want to say hi? Say hi. Gotta wipe your nose again. In wintertime, of course. So if the flame sensor is your issue, usually what will happen is it'll go through the whole sequence. Everything will start up. Your inducer motor will start up and everything. And the gas will go and it'll light. And then it'll shut off because it doesn't sense that there's a flame, or it thinks the flame's out or whatever. So I believe that that's when it's going to be your issue. Yeah, thank you. Another issue you could have is your gas line. So inline is on. So if it's turned off, it's going to be perpendicular, parallel to be on. So somebody could have shut that off. Maybe somebody was working on your furnace and shut that off and forgot to turn it back on. So check that, obviously, to make sure you have gas to your furnace, whether it's natural gas or propane. This is propane, but very similar for natural gas furnaces. So then a lot of your other common problems are going to be, you can see them all basically right here. So these are most of your parts, and it's best to understand the sequence of operation of how the furnace starts up. And it's got all of its safety switches, and if any of the safety switches go bad, it won't start up, or if they're just triggered because something's wrong with the furnace. So we'll get into that in a second. Now, when you turn on your furnace, you're going to see these lights, and it'll tell you whether the furnace is running good, and if the flame's lit, that will be lit, the yellow light, or they'll be flashing in a certain sequence. Every furnace is different, and it'll be flashing in a way to tell you what the error code is. So on the back of your furnace panel, you'll see, when you take it off, you'll see a wiring diagram, and you'll see a fault conditions chart here. Now, if you zoom into the fault conditions, you could see your green LED, red LED. So you want to scroll down, whether you have we had our red LED flash, and we had green LED flash, and our red LED, our red LED was off. So that was our fault condition, which was an open limit switch fault, which can mean many things, many problems. It could be a bad limit switch, which our furnace has 3 in total, I believe. And then you might have a pressure switch, closed or open fault. We had that issue in the past and replaced some parts. Which some of these problems, like a pressure switch, open limit switch fault, those things could happen just from your dirty furnace filter again. So change that first. So our furnace is working now. I'm going to try and unplug one of my limit switches and show you what fault condition could arise. So I'm just going to unplug this wire from this limit switch here. Then that's going to break the circuit, and it's going to give me a fault code so that we can kind of see how that works. Now, while we're at it, you got a limit switch here on the inducer motor. You got a limit switch here on the side. And that one is for the air going past. It senses the air coming from the blower motor up to where the burners are and the heat exchanger. So that will trip on and off the blower motor as needed when the temperature gets to certain temperatures, and that temperature is written on the side of the limit switches. So these are all basically temperature sensors that turn on and off, and that one is your limit switch for the air just underneath the burners. Okay, so now with that unplugged, I'm going to go turn on the switch, and the thermostat is turned up, so it's going to call for heat. It's going to turn on, I'm going to run back over here, and this should have a flashing fault indicator. Okay, I switched it on. You hear it click. It calls for heat, and look at that. So the inducer motor started. So you know the inducer motor's good in this furnace, but we got that green flashing light, red off, yellow off. So what does that mean? You can hear the blower motor is on. So the blower motor seems to be functioning okay. Now I'm gonna turn this furnace off and plug that back in. And if I did the same for these other limit switches, it would do the same thing. These limit switches, all three are lined in series, which means they're all wired together and back to the control board. So I switched it off, and we'll come back over to the furnace, and now I can plug it back in. Now, my initial thought was that this limit switch was bad when I first was going to work on the furnace. That is because it's gone bad before. It seems to get very corroded, maybe from the outside air coming in, and it causes an issue. With common issues, another issue you could have is this is your air in, and this is your exhaust fan. So those pipes go up and across your basement and outside. So you want to go outside and you want to make sure that they're free and clear of ice buildup, snow and ice buildup, which can be carbon monoxide can build up in your house because of that. So that can be a danger to you as well as cause a problem to your furnace. If your pressure switches are an issue, they will give you a pressure switch open or closed fault. So what can happen is there's a little rubber like seal kind of thing that opens and closes anyways, and they can get stuck open or closed, and you'll get a open or closed fault kind of thing. So usually, also of course your wires connected, not corroded and whatnot. Yes, thank you. So if you're getting one of those faults, yeah, you're gonna open the furnace. Can you open this one? Look. Open this. We're going to show them the blower motor. Do you want to open that? It's too tight, you won't be able to, but see if you know how to work it. Yeah? Yeah, unscrew it. You want Daddy to do it? Have it? Okay, thank you. Look. She'll be fixing engines with me in no time. So, since she wants to open this, we'll show you another common issue is you could have a dirty blower motor. The blades on the blower motor should be cleaned. Now, when this opens up, your furnace is going to turn off automatically because there's a little switch right here. So it knows that that's open. Here's one of your condensate lines. So you can get in here with a vacuum. You got to be careful. The blades on the blower motor can be sharp, but you can get in here with a small vacuum and clean these out. Maybe an air gun, blow out the blower blades, blower assembly there. It's a good idea to do that often. That'll prolong the life. And there's a little solenoid there that turns it on and off. That was replaced by a friend of mine who's an HVAC tech. I had him. That was before I was learning how to do stuff, and had him replace that because he was in there cleaning and he said it was a cheap part anyways, and you might as well do it because it saves you the life of your blower motor. So that's another thing. Don't get into this if you don't or don't get into anything too big. Call a professional if there's anything too complicated for you. But I'm just trying to show you a couple things you could maybe just check quick before you call them, or maybe you don't have enough time and your furnace goes out in the early morning hours like it did for us, and it's minus 30 out, and you want to see if you can get it going quick because your house is getting cold. Luckily for us, we have this nice pellet stove, which is very, very reliable. Funny enough, once you learn how to work on your... Stay out of there, Ember. Once you know how to work on your furnace, you can learn how to work on this. Similar, there's a control board, there's a blower motor, there's an inducer motor or exhaust motor that runs that on the other side. One thing that's different is there's gears, and you got to grease the gears there. But similarly, there's a pressure switch, like in a furnace. On the other side, there's another pressure switch, the hoses. I think I had an issue where my hose was bad, so I replaced that hose, you can see. And a maintenance thing with them is to replace gaskets on them. There's the inducer motor, and you can see those parts are very similar to a furnace. So learning to work on one thing correlates to working on another. So when talking about the blower motor and sucking air, it needs to be able to suck air. So this can be problems. You want to clean your cold air intakes. Here's one. Here's another. They'll be in your main rooms usually and bedroom. Doing that is important because it allows good airflow. So not only for the function of the furnace, but it can save you on costs of heating because it pumps air through your house better, more efficiently to save on heating. Okay, so I explained most of the parts. I think this is a little less common, but there's even a switch on there, on off, for your gas, so make sure that's on. Your wires, obviously all your wires are connected properly, but this is your valve for your gas line, so that could be faulty if you're seeing gas not going there and you got relays and stuff. So how do you know what is your issue? How do you know what part is bad? Because you get a limit switch fault or you get a pressure switch fault, and you might know, okay, well, it's one of these 2 pressure switches or it's one of these 3 limit switches. So I had that issue, and I thought it was this one because we've had it go bad a few times from condensation from the air coming in, but it wasn't that again. I replaced it with an old one I had that I think I kept that may or may not have been bad, and it wasn't that. And I was looking into it, and then I realized that my blower motor was constantly running. And that can be a sign that this one isn't working properly. So then I started this limit switch to tell the blower motor to come on and off. So so then I was looking, and I should test the other limit switches. So what's good to know, to learn how to fix things my whole life, I used to like to take them apart, put them back together. And I find the best way to learn how something works and how to fix something is to know how it works, how it operates. So you want to learn the sequence of operations. So when this goes to start up, which we're going to start it in a second, how does it work? And where along the line does it fail, telling you which part it might be, or at least narrowing it down a little bit. So first in the sequence of operation is your thermostat, sending the call for heat signal to your control board. So are those wires good? While you're looking at it, your fuse and your control board could be an issue, but that's a bigger fix, and it's not as common. So next, your control board will send your signal to, first thing is the inducer motor should start up. So once your inducer motor starts up, it's going to start up right away. Sorry, the pressure switch tests if the blower is actually running, the pressure of the blower. The limit switch is for the temperature, if it gets too hot or too cold. But so that's going. Then it's next in the sequence of operation. So next in the sequence of operation, the igniter will go first because it doesn't want to build up too much gas, and you'll see that glowing. So that could be another common issue. This one, it just glows red. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's a little like coil. Once it starts up, you'll see it glowing, and then that's glowing, and then once it gets up to temperature, then a gas line starts up, and then the igniter you'll hear a little poof. It's okay to have this open when it's starting, and then that'll start up, and then as that starts, your flame sensor will sense the flame. And if it doesn't sense the flame in a given time, then it'll shut it down. So if you have that issue and then it shuts down, it could be that, it could be other things. But this is going to sense for the blower motor to turn on and off. So if you're hearing issues with your blower motor on and off, it could be these, it could be your solenoid and whatnot. But so then you're going to see your flame light up, it's going to sense it, the blower motor should be working. So it could trip off if you have a bad furnace filter, possibly, if it's really having a bad issue. Big issue you could have is above there is your heat exchanger. And if the heat exchanger is clogged up, it can cause this to trip. So down to the bottom of it, our issue was this limit switch. So it tripped, and it actually has a button on it here to reset. So all said and done, I just clicked that button. I'll see if I can zoom in so you can see it. It's right in the middle there. Here, I'll take this off. I clicked that button right there. I heard a little click, and then I turned the switch back on, and the furnace worked. So that's all my issue was. There's not a button on this one, so that one, if it goes bad, it'll have to be replaced. And there is a button on this one, so it could just be to push that. So again, you probably have an underlying issue, but maybe if it was just your furnace filter or something like that, that pushing the button might solve it. Now, I had a fairly dirty furnace filter, so that could be the issue, and it was really cold out, so the combination of those things and the furnace running so hot so long, I'm thinking maybe they got too hot and it tripped that. We haven't had the issue since I've clicked that and fixed it, diagnosed it. Very simple, but that could be your problem, or any of those other ones along the way. Now, for the moment of truth, to show you how it starts up. Now, I explained the sequence of operation. I'm going to start it up, and I'm going to kind of try and explain it as it's starting up. But it's going to go so quick, you're not going to be able to really see. But first thing first, this inducer motor is going to go. Okay, here we go. Quickly before I start it, there's your other pressure switch. And I forgot to mention these little tubes. That's your common problem with them. They can get clogged up. So you could pull those off, and you can make sure that you can blow air through them, and it goes through both ends. When I was talking about testing these, I took off these and I tested them with a multimeter for continuity, and depending on the side of them, it shows L or F. And if you look up online, they mean two different things, whether they're meant to be closed and then they open, or they're meant to be open and then they close. So you could test whether there's continuity or not, and depending on the type of limit switch, then you know whether it's good or bad. I'm trying to remember exactly because I don't do this every day, but this one, L, so I believe L means it's meant to be closed, and then it opens, and this one was stuck open with that little button there. So and then, like I mentioned, maybe afterwards I could pull one off and show you, but the temperature is written on the side of when it's supposed to open and close. So you want to make sure you get the right part number. You can see this one here. There's a little QR code, and I think that's the part number, and there's the writing written around on the side of it. Okay, so no more delay. Let's start up this furnace and watch it fire up. Okay, I'm going to turn it on and run over quick. Thermostat clicked, called for heat. No lights flashing yet. Inducer motor is going. Pressure switch is sensing the pressure is going for the inducer motor. Then we should see this glowing up here, and then the gas should come on. Now, if any of the other limit switches weren't working properly, they would have already tripped because they're in series. So if this goes, we know the limit switches are good. For those, well, not necessarily, because they can trip in the sequence, but they're working, they're not stuck open or closed. They could trip because something else is the issue or whatever. So I just heard something else click. Now see that glowing? There's your igniter glowing. Like I mentioned, 2 wires, 2 screws right there you can see. You can pull that out. You can maybe, don't think that really needs to get cleaned, but it could use a cleaning or replacing if that's not working. Now that's glowing now. Once it senses, there, now it turned on the gas and it lit. So you can hear it click on, and then the gas flows, and shortly after it lights. So my guess, if you guys know exactly, let me know, but I'm thinking actually that this limit switch is probably meant to sense the heat from the igniter. And once the igniter gets warm enough to light the propane, this senses it and then sends the signal back to the control board to then send the signal to the gas valve to turn on, because it will be lit and not build up and cause an explosion hazard. Now, you heard the blower motor just kick on. So what does that mean? That means that this limit switch here is functioning properly. Well, not necessarily, but it turned it on, so it's functioning. It could have another issue, down the where it doesn't trip it off or whatever, but likely this is working, that got to the right temperature, that sensed the temperature building up there below the heat exchanger, and it kicked on the blower motor, which also means your blower motor solenoid worked to turn on the blower motor, and that is functioning. Now, this could run for a bit, and we've had an issue before where it ran for a bit, and then we had an issue in lights flashing. So you can see here now, we got green light, red light on, and yellow light on. So what does that mean? Well, you can see here, fault conditions, normal operation, on, and down here, flame present, on. Continuous flash means low flame sensor signal. So there's another issue you could look at. And if you're having an issue with wiring things up, again, like I mentioned, your wiring diagram, they can be complicating, but if you're just removing one part, just look at the wires you're disconnecting and make sure you put them in the back in the same place. So I think that does it for how to troubleshoot and repair your furnace for a number of common issues you could have, as well as we explain the sequence of operation to some degree of how you can understand how your furnace works. Natural gas and propane are much similar, and you can dive into it a little bit and see if you can diagnose it yourself before you call a professional in too much. A decent amount to explain, and if you want to really understand what's going on, we got to dive into it a little bit. Now, this could have been a much longer video, and if you like this video, please comment below and let me know if you want to see another video of doing something particular. I could take out these, I'm not going to get into that, but like I said, on the side of them, I could show you this one, but on the side of them, they show you, I believe, the part number as well, but see there, L160F. So, and then that one doesn't have a minus and a temperature. So this one means L160, that this trips if it gets to 160 Fahrenheit. If the temperature gets too hot, I believe, is when that one trips. Now, I had another one in here, and it said, you know, I believe it said like L150 or 180 F, so 180 Fahrenheit minus 40. So that means kicks on the blower motor or whatever at 180 Fahrenheit, and it kicks it off when it drops 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So it kicks it off when it's 140. So that kind of thing. So that's how those work. It doesn't mean it kicks it off at 40. It means kicks it off, you do 180 minus 40. So that's how those work. They're all pretty easy to replace. It's most of these parts, these safety switches are 2 screws and 2 wires. You get the 2 wires in the right place and screw them back in. So thank you for watching Best Green Homestead. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe if you want to see more. We have a lot of repair videos. We have some up, we're gonna have a lot more to come. DIY, kind of repair your household stuff. We're homesteaders, so we like to fix our tractor, our vehicles. We have some videos of fixing our vehicles, but our main thing is hatching. So if you're interested, we hatch chickens, ducks, and geese, or chicks, ducklings, and goslings, and we breed them all on rotational pasture, and we do, so it's pastured poultry, they're organic fed, and we do rare, colorful egg layers. So we do some rare breeds, and we have some videos of our incubators. We're gonna have more of incubating and hatching, and the goslings and ducklings. So if you like this, you can find us as well on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Just got on TikTok at Best Green Homestead, and you can follow us along there as well. We have we've been on Instagram the longest. We've got thousands of pictures and videos up there of all of our birds and everything, and we're gonna be a lot more active on YouTube, and so please subscribe. We've got videos going up of tours of our greenhouses. We've got 700 square foot Farmers Friends greenhouses. We're doing tours of them and everything, but I better cut it short. We're getting a little longer than I thought. If you like these long videos, make a comment that you like them and you want to see more in-depth videos on repairs and whatnot. But yeah, thank you for watching till the end if you did, and happy homesteading from our family to yours.